1 year on to last year, well, but turn it again for people at Falkirk, up at Peterhead last week as well, where it all kind of started, and here we are yet again. We're still on the streets of this country. Nobody's got fatigue as yet, and that's what it's all about, is making sure that we turn out. I want to do a couple of mentions to a couple of people, and one of the guys that have got faces of absentees today, one of them being Connor. Right, I know Connor was one of the guys that started this movement, and he's not here today. And I just want to give a big shout out, because he gave Falkirk their voices, and then the rest of you patriots carried it on when he stepped aside. So well done to the people of Falkirk.
Yep. Well done.
The next person is a guy. Scottish grandma, aye, I'm always Scottish grandma. I never forget Scottish grandma. Jesus, I'll get killed in a minute. I can see her there ready. The knives are out already. I'm going to get ripped apart when I get after you in a second. Anyway, the next thing as well is I also want to put out a name, Big Craig Houston. Because Big Craig Houston, who gave a platform to nearly everybody's protests up and down this country last year, he spent a lot of his time in his car going up and down the country. He gave his people his time on his YouTube channel to promote their protests. And he gave people a lot of opportunities. And Craig doesn't get the recognition for it, because he doesn't want the recognition for it, because he's standing up for the same as what everyone else is doing, and that's for the population of this beautiful country that we're here today. It's quite funny though, I see the tumbleweed over on the other side of the road today. I can't hear much noise coming from that side today. It's quite funny how they're not turned out today as well, but unfortunately I think they said there was going to be over 1,000 of them, and I think the ambulance chaser is down there with the rest of them, and apparently they're just being kettled in. I'll tell you why they're not up here today, because they're too fucking embarrassed to turn up here today. Because guess why? Because the Patriots of Scotland turned out in Falkirk in their numbers.
Yes!
While we're on the subject of this hotel, I want to say well done to the people of Falkirk, because the Falkirk people have been the most consistent. Every Wednesday, every Saturday, regardless of the weather, they've been standing here. You heard the young boy Sammy talking earlier on there as well.
I was in the post, brother.
Cheers, brother. But I just want to mention the rat that owns that hotel.
Yes.
The man, Mr. Hannigan, who's been lining his pockets on the behalf of this community. And in my pocket here is three faces. The three faces are on the flyers that are handed out to the people. These animals have created victims, lifelong victims. These people have made sexual assaults to some of the community's members of this community. And these guys over here had the audacity to stand and protect these people week in, week out. And it's the same theme everywhere in the whole of Scotland right now. And I see people from Glasgow today. Well done for the people of Glasgow for turning out, and I'm going to give a big shout out to these people, because the people of Glasgow are now starting to find their voices, and at long fucking last, because they have been in this front line for decades. It's only because it's spilling out into other towns now that we're all starting to get into this. But the good people of Glasgow have been doing this for a long, long time. So good on yous and keep it going, and we'll all be there to support you when we need you. As you know, I'm going to need to try and keep myself calm, because some of you know I had a heart attack in April, and it's still no slowed me down, still no stopped me. This is why I come here, because the reason I come here is I'd rather die in the streets standing up for my people than be sitting in the house and doing nothing. And that's exactly what it's all about here today. Enough of that one. But listen, guys, I'm proud of you people, right? Because this is it. When you look at the likes of Craig, you look at the likes of Alec, you look at the likes of Connor, you look at the likes of Stevie Mitchell, who's been brave enough to stand up here and speak today, even after the fact that people are trying to silence these people, and they still stand up, and they still stand up to be counted. And you know that's what it's all about. We should fear no man in this country. This country is our country. And when people like Anis Hawa and all these the ambulance chasers and all these race baiters are calling us Nazis and fascists. Just remember, Mr. Amwa, I have a phone sitting right here, and I have plenty pictures of Antifa being violent towards people on this side. I have pictures of people committing Nazi salutes from your side of the fence. So when you're going to call it out, you call it all out. You don't call everybody, because we're the patriots of Scotland. And I'm just going to end with this, people. There's a phrase called Scotland the Brave. And you know what? Every person standing here right now is part of the brave. Every person that stands at these protests, yous are the brave. The weak stand over there, and you can see how weak they are today because they're too embarrassed to even turn up. And that's because they were standing here thinking they had their big numbers. Well, guess what? We've turned out our numbers. We're going to keep on going, and let's give them loudy. We are going to keep our voices, and for the people that can't speak, we'll speak for them. So good on every single one of you. And remember, we are Scottish, we are British, and we are proud.
Kev, what can I say? Never disappoint us.
What's that? Apparently I'm now the new PA here. Oh, this is going to be a good one. And the next speaker, one of the big stars of the show, is this guy. I stood by this man on the Royal Mile when 30 to 40ers stood against over 2,000 independent supporters in the SNP march. Mr. McConaughey, get your ass up here and give us your best, sir.
Thank you very much, Kevin. And I'd first like to thank the organisers of this event for putting on this very impressive action today, and also for inviting me to speak. Thank you, I'm honoured to be here with you, because congratulations are in order. After over a year of your campaigning, the so-called asylum seekers have been moved out of that hotel, and we're very grateful for that. Everyone here deserves praise for your sterling commitment to the safety of the people of Falkirk, and it's good to see that being rewarded in such a victory. However, we all know it is a bittersweet victory, because we do not know to where these so-called asylum seekers have been put. You know, it was the Prime Minister was interviewed last week, and he said he wanted all the country to play their part.
Get stopped.
Exactly. Well, do you know, we have a message for Mr. Andy Burnham. No, Mr. Andy Burnham, we do not want to play our part. We want to get them gone. You know, these people are not, for the most part, so-called vulnerable people fleeing persecution. And even if they were, we cannot impose all to stay where they're having their trouble and to try to make their countries great again. However, these message of our overly tolerant nature and the fact that our country since 1951 has been stuck into something called the UN Refugee Convention, which legalizes what would otherwise be considered illegal behaviour. So normally you would think crossing the channel in a dinghy, breaking into the country would be illegal, But if you're doing it under your UN Refugee Convention rights and you say you're doing it to claim asylum, then guess what? You become legalized, essentially, you get put into these hotels, and at great time and expense, we have to look at every single case and then make a decision. And that's just simply no longer sustainable with the huge numbers that are coming in. So we should not be putting any of
That's
these
fine,
people
donkey.
up at our expense. Not here, not in Falkirk, not anywhere. We should not be putting them in hotels or MOD premises or HMOs or farming them out throughout the country into new builds in towns and villages. We should not be giving them refugee status. We should not be giving them benefits once they get refugee status. We should not allow them to bring in their families once they get refugee status. We should not be giving them so-called indefinite leave to remain after they've been here for 5 years. And we should not be giving them citizenship. All these things they get once they get refugee status. Instead, we should be leaving the UN Refugee Convention. We should be closing the doors. We should be putting a lot of them in prison for breaking our law of entry. And we should be deporting, sir, massive numbers, including all the failed asylum seekers. And don't let anyone tell you that these things cannot be done. It only takes the political will. So no, Mr. Burnham, we do not want to play our part. We want them gone, not just out of Falkirk, but out of Scotland and out of the United Kingdom.
Yes.
And so, Mr. Burnham, let's be constructive here. Here are the 3 things that you need to do to stop the boats. And you know what? If he did these 3 things, he'd probably be in power for a generation. 1, we must remove the incentives to cross.
Yep.
People come over because they know that if they get refugee status, they have won the golden ticket. They know that refugee status confers legal residence and automatic access to the entire benefit system on the same basis as British citizens, including access to social housing. And they can then bring in their families as well once they get this refugee status. And once they get that, if they know if they hang around for 5 years, they can apply for indefinite leave to remain, which they will get. And that guarantees their presence here forever. And they also know that if they want, they can become a British citizen after a further year's residence. So all these routes to benefits, to family reunion, to indefinite leave to remain, to citizenship, these all need to be firmly closed to anybody applying for asylum. There should be no route to any of these things as a result of a grant of refugee status. If you get given it, then you can stay here, but you have to pay your own way, and you can't bring in your family, and you don't become a British citizen. But reducing these incentives isn't enough. Think of the carrot and the stick. Removing the carrots, the incentives isn't enough. There also has to be a stick. There also has to be punishment for those who continue to cross anyway. That is, we must provide a physical deterrent. Something which puts fear into them so that they don't do it. And that is the fear simply of going to prison because you broke the law. And if you break into our country illegally, you should simply be fast-tracked to prison. And we can build Nightingale prisons, as I like to call them. And believe me, we wouldn't have to start sending very many of them to prison, and we wouldn't have to do it for very long, because they would all quickly get the message. And that would be the strategy to break the gangs, to break the gang masters. It would simply be, we can't send any more boats over there because they're going to get lifted out the channel by the Royal Navy and they're going to get taken to His Majesty's prison. So that's the second thing, they provide a deterrent. And the third thing is we must ensure the inevitability of deportation. People must know that they will always end up back where they started from. They will be deported, either at the end of their prison sentence or they'll volunteer to self-deport, and that means they can get out of prison early and we'll help them fly home, never to be allowed back in again. But one way or the other, they need to know they're going home. Do these three things: stop the incentives, send the channel crossers to prison, and ensure deportation, and we will stop the boats in short order. Now, of course, all of this requires us to leave the UN Refugee Convention, the convention which legalizes the current system, because it's that outdated convention which sits at the bottom of all our problems. As I said earlier, under the convention, if you enter by dinghy or by lorry and you say you're doing it to claim asylum, then you will not be considered to have broken the law. Well, that has to change. That's ridiculous. It's absolutely crazy. A crazy state of affairs, due entirely to our membership of a 1951 convention, which was out of date as soon as it was passed, because 1951 was before the age of mass communication, before the age even of jet travel. So it's a completely outdated convention, and we say no longer can the political necessity of the present be held hostage to the ideals of the past. Ideals which are long past their sell-by date in the modern, fast-paced world. And when we do leave it, when we do leave the convention, and we could suspend our membership tomorrow if we wanted, then we can declare channel crossing to be illegal and we can send people to prison instead of sending them to hotels here in Falkirk. And all the policy solutions that I've just articulated will become easily possible. Folks, thank you for listening to me. Let me thank the organisers of this event once again. It's been a pleasure. God bless you all. Well done for everything that you've done. God bless Scotland and God bless our wonderful United Kingdom. Thank you.
There we have it, ladies and gentlemen, our very own Alistair McConaughey. Come on, it seems a bit flat here. Come on, Falkirk, let's start making some fucking noise here. Anyway, before I bring the next speaker, I just wanted to remind you something, some of the lunacies that Mr. McConaughey was talking about there today. Just recently, you've watched that absolute weapon called Q, Mani Vani Wani Jani, or whatever his name is. This is a guy that's sitting in Noor Parliament building with no right to remain, no national insurance, here on a student visa. This is a guy that's advocating for rape. If you listen to that interview the other night there, this guy is actually making apologies for it. Making excuses, exactly. That is what we're up against in this country, people. We need to start getting this and get loud about this. These people don't belong here. And for the Greens Party, Ross Greer, Lorna Slater, Patrick Harvey, all yous absolute clowns. Shame on every single one of yous for keeping that man on. He should be removed and removed from this country. Anyway, let's move on. We've got the very own Dean Donalds.
Hello Falkirk, how's it going? I'm Dean Donald, and for those of you that don't know me, I'm a member of Peterhead Against Illegal Migration. First of all, I'd like to say a huge congratulations to each and every one of you that have stood here at the Claddon Hotel and brung the noise every Wednesday and Saturday in the rain, sleet and shine. Yous have made the difference, and look what the hard workers done. Well done to yous all once again. Next, I'm going on to say what we do as a group, individuals and concerned citizens, is not to be a bigot, not to be a racist, not to be a Nazi or the other vulgar things the deluded left tarnish us with. We do this for all our communities, for our families, and to keep the communities as safe as possible, and most importantly, protect our own. The current state of our nation truly speaks for itself, people. It's due to the spineless communist government that runs it, and the effects it has on our once proud and great country is evident for all to see. I truly tell you with a heavy heart, there's been far too many innocent people's lives taken and lives traumatised since the start of this invasion from illegal invaders, and the government has been the sole blame of the cause of this. Britain as a country has enough issues in-house with British citizens committing serious crimes, so why should we take the rest of the world's issues into our once proud nation? The government needs to take sole blame for this. It is absolutely ludicrous with the almost open border policy we currently have as a nation. Everyone will agree here, the policy simply does not work. In my opinion, diversity is a social experiment and it has failed, and the government must own up to this, but I can guarantee you again they will not. They say diversity is our strength, when in fact diversity is our downfall.
Yes!
How many more innocent British lives must be lost and traumatised? How much more crimes of the utmost serious level has to be committed by these invaders before the government take action and make change? I believe, personally, remigration is a must, and it is inevitable, people and patriots, and remigration has to happen now. What do we need to save our nation?
Remigration!
What do we need to save our nation?
Remigration!
Thank you. Enough is enough, people. It's time to stand up, together as one. No more sitting back. We must act now and act appropriately as a unit and an army of concerned Scottish people, and show the communist government we want change and we want it now. We want our country back. We want secure borders.
Yes!
My heart goes out to every single person that has fell a victim to the most heinous crimes committed. You should never feel unsafe in your streets, your home or your communities. Scotland for the Scots!
Scotland for the Scots!
Well, there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Very own Dean Donald for Peterhead, one of the first to the founders of the movement. We are waiting on somebody coming back here, I've been informed.
Thanks,
I don't know where
Lord.
she's disappeared to. Apparently on the list is a Cladden Hotel attendee, whatever the hell that means. Any ideas where these people are? No?
And the postcard.
Who's on that? So I've just been reliably informed. We do have another speaker for these.
Woo!
So well done for everybody standing here and listening to everybody talk today. Anyway, we're going to get on with the next speaker because whoever the Cladden Hotel attendee is has decided to no attend. That's a belter, eh? Anyway, let's move on to the next speaker. So the next speaker is a man called Stuart Gare.
Well done, Stuart. Oh well, that'll be that then. So, I get to tell Stuart Gare, but I think Stuart's already spoken. Anyway, I've just been relying on informed. Sorry, Kenny, lad. Anyway, what a terrible PAR, isn't it? Sorry, I'll pull Julie up when she gets back. This, ladies and gentlemen, is Kenny Milson, and he's going to take to the mic on your...
Cheers, Kev. Good afternoon, everybody. What a crowd. Well done. Give yourself a round of applause. First of all, I want to say congratulations to you guys and girls who came here every Wednesday and Saturday in all sorts of weather and put pressure on the SNP to get the sex pests removed from this hotel, and also to see Falkirk for All collapsing, just like their world famous Jenga championship. Oh, the irony. Well done, everybody. It was on this day, in August the 15th, 1926, that my father was born. If my dad was alive, he would be celebrating his 100th birthday today. He joined the Royal Engineers at 18 years old in 1944 because he wanted to join the war effort to fight for our country. Like many other people here today and on the left, Our fathers, grandfathers and great-grandfathers left their families behind to go to war to fight for our freedom. They would look down on us today in dismay to see the state our country has become, and they'd say to themselves, was it worth it? They must be turning in their graves for what our governments, since Blair and New Labour and SNP have done, that are systemically destroying our country, and our forefathers will be saying, this is not what I fought for. Yes. Our ancestors would be proud of us patriots standing here today fighting for our freedom and safety, but they will be utterly ashamed and disappointed of how their treacherous descendants, who have tried and failed to march here outside the Claddon, have become, that have turned their backs on this country that even their ancestors fought so hard for to defend. Those traitors would never stand shoulder to shoulder with us on Remembrance Sundays, or at least wear a poppy, when we pay our respects to our brave men and boys who sacrificed their lives fighting the Nazis and fascists. And do you know why they wouldn't stand shoulder to shoulder with us? It's because they are the Nazis and fascists. Yes. They call us Nazis and fascists as a deflection of what they call themselves. They proved that 2 years ago when they gathered in towns and cities across Britain, funded by the likes of the Socialist Workers' Party. Remember, Hitler was a socialist. And also funded by the Transport and General Workers Union and Unison, when they gathered to pay their respects, deliberately choosing Remembrance Sunday not to pay respect for our war heroes that fought the Nazis and fascists, but rather to pay their respects to Palestinian martyrs killed in Gaza. Yes, Palestine, where they treat Hitler as a hero, where Mein Kampf is readily available in most bookshops and has been in the top 10 bestsellers list for decades, where they even have shops named after Hitler himself. Most of them would also vote SNP, whose founders collaborated with the Nazis during World War II.
Well said. Oh, David.
You want to hear more proof?
Aye.
Well, let's see what the Nazis did and what the left agree on. Hitler praised abortion. Lefties agree. Hitler controlled industry. Lefties agree. Hitler censored speech. Lefties agree. Hitler indoctrinated children. Lefties agree. Hitler controlled education. Lefties agree. Hitler banned opposing political parties. Lefties agree. Hitler silenced churches. Lefties agree. Hitler expanded government power. Lefties agree. And Hitler persecuted Jews. Lefties agree. And for good measure, Hitler was also a vegan.
He's a vegetarian.
This age-old myth that the Nazis were far right is hugely inaccurate. When you scratch beneath the surface, we can see that the National Socialist German Workers' Party was actually left-wing. The far left are the Nazi scum that needs to be off our streets.
Yes.
And if anyone on this side want to do Nazi salutes, even if it's done in jest, you're in the wrong place. Because we don't need you here or at any other future events either. Because all you're doing is giving us a bad reputation, and we don't need that and we don't deserve it.
Well said.
Our forefathers went to war and defended our country, leaving our women and children in the relatively safety of Great Britain, where children were evacuated to the countryside for their safety. Put that in contrast with the illegal immigrants of fighting young men who have done the exact opposite, and rather than fight for their country, have ran like cowards to the safety of the UK, leaving their women and children behind to defend for themselves. But we are not daft. We all know their game. We know that they're not just economic migrants, but criminals, paedophiles and rapists, using their war as an excuse to come here to take advantage of our benefit system, and also to take advantage of our women and children, along with jihadi terrorists that have been planning a war on us for centuries, and our treacherous governments have allowed them to cross a channel which our Royal Navy once defended us against German warships and U-boats, and now they can't stop a rubber dinghy. Well, actually, that's not true. They can easily stop the dinghies if our government did their job and allowed our Royal Navy to do the job that they're supposed to do, which is to protect our borders from foreign invaders. What happened in Ceuta 2 weeks ago was a major wake-up call for Europe. That was coordinated. 60,000 fighting-age men didn't suddenly wake up one morning and decided to invade Ceuta. What happened there could have been another coordinated October 7th attack. That was a warning to the West that politicians have to take seriously and stop burying their heads in the sand. If this Labour government don't see that as a catalyst, that we deploy the Royal Navy to patrol the Channel to stop the boats now, then it's obvious that this Labour government only cares about votes than it does for the safety of our country. Sorry, I've got a fucking wasp here. It must be a fucking lefty. A wee lefty wasp. A coordinated October... Fuck off! Get back to your beehive. A coordinated October...
That's buzzing.
A coordinated October 7th mass could easily happen here. Those radicalised Islamists are already geared up and ready and waiting for the call. We could potentially end up seeing actual rivers of blood on our streets. A couple of weeks ago, I read out a couple of verses of the Quran in my speech at the United Clans rally in Glasgow, which the Islamists used to justify the raping and using our white women and girls as sexual slaves. Today, I'll read out another verse of the Quran, chapter 9, verse 5, known as the verse of the sword. It will shock you if you haven't heard of it, before. It goes like this. Then when the sacred months have passed, slay the idolaters wherever ye find them, and take them captive, and besiege them, and prepare for them each ambush. But if they repent, and establish worship, and pay the poor due, then leave their way free. Lo, Allah is forgiving, merciful. That verse states that unless you submit and revert to Islam and pay jizya, which is a tax, then you are to be killed or enslaved. But like October 7th, these jihadis won't wait until submission and will just kill us on the spot anyway. That doesn't sound like a religion of peace to me. Does it sound like a religion of peace to you?
Hell no!
It might surprise you, but the first person to say that Islam is the religion of peace was George W. Bush after the 9/11 attacks in New York. Before then, Islamists, imams, journalists and politicians all said that Islam is a religion of submission. There are loads of verses like that in the Quran, and that is the reason why our women and children are being raped, and why we have had so many terrorist attacks, and there will be more, because that book allows those radicalised Islamists to do so.
Yes.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, my book that promotes violence, rape and murder on another ethnic minority, sorry, I'll say it again. In my opinion, any book that promotes violence, rape and murder on another ethnic group should be banned.
Yes.
Our communist Labour and socialist SNP choose to ignore the dangers of Islamic extremism because they are too weak and cowardly to address the serious issues that our country faces because of it, and would rather deflect the blame to the bogeyman, which they call the far right. Well, the far right don't drive into crowds. The far right don't drive jeeps into airports. The far right don't blow up buses and subway carriages. The far right don't blow up pop concerts. The far right aren't the reason for armed police at Christmas markets. The far right aren't the reason for security bollards. The far right don't religiously and racially gang rape white girls. And the far right aren't 90% of the MI5's terrorist list. We all saw Amar Anwar and his lefty pals sitting down at a press conference just over a week ago, blaming the far right for attacks on refugees in the streets of Glasgow, completely ignoring the fact that white men are also being attacked by packs of these so-called refugees. So stop the gaslighting Amar Anwar and address the real reasons of why these attacks are happening on both sides and why our women and children are being raped because of their religion and because of their race. Mark my words, if we don't do mass deportation, in 15 to 20 years' time, maybe sooner, we will end up having areas in Britain which will be Islamic, like Govan Hill in Glasgow or Tower Hamlets in London or towns like Rotherham, for example, where non-Muslims won't be allowed to enter these streets and where they'll be allowed to implement Sharia law. Because these treacherous communist and socialist parties who have struck up an unholy alliance with Islam will submit to it simply because they hate our country and wish to destroy it from within. And the first people the Islamists will attack will be the communists and socialists after those useful idiots have served their purpose, as history has told us that they've already attacked them before. Because two completely different ideologies can't have the same goal of one world domination, and one of them has to give in, and it won't be the Islamists. We won't give these Islamists an inch of our land. Every inch of our land is sacred Christian land, and it always will be, and we will fight to defend every inch of it, and never give up. And as a great man here once said, we will never surrender.
Never!
And this is a message to the left. You either support the country you live in, or live in the country you support.
Yes.
And if you don't support our country, then you can take your communist, socialist and Palestine flags with you and fuck off to places like Russia, China, North Korea and Palestine, because we don't want traitors like you here in this country either.
Oh, yes.
They might want to live in a third world shithole, but we certainly don't. We have a fight in our hands now. I would rather die on my feet and fight for my country than live the rest of my life on my knees. I don't want it to happen, but if it came to the crunch, I would fight like my father and our forefathers did. For our future, for our children's future, for future generations, and for the future of our country. But first, we need to get rid of the communist and socialist parties that are just puppets for the unelected communist globalist elites in the World Economic Forum, the United Nations, World Health Organization and the European Union. There are parties here on the right side of politics that need to put their egos aside and stop fighting like children. And come to some sort of compromise to make this country an uncomfortable place for these radical Islamists to live in, like the banning of the burqa or halal slaughter, for example. And they need to put our country first. I won't name who the parties are, we know who they are, but I ask them to come together now as one to save our country from the traitors of the far left. Because united we stand, divided we fall. Thank you, Patriots. Thank you, Falkirk. Have a great day. Stay strong, and most important of all, stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you. Well done.
Really dropped that there. There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Our very own Kenny had to speak there. Notice how I've been landed with this one. I mean, the good-looking one here's been landed with the microphone to announce the like the speakers. I just want to just take a quick second. I just want to hear if I can hear the lefties from the other side of the road. Can't you hear a thing at all? Can't you hear a fucking thing? Can't even hear them up the roads. Who are they? Exactly. Anyway, we've got a lovely speaker coming up, and she's come all the way from Perth to speak to this evening to the people of Falkirk. And it's a lovely Lana. Lana, get your beautiful lady up here and give us some of your best words.
Thank you, Falkirk. Thank you for inviting Perth Peaceful Protest. We are welcoming, hello, Perriers! I said hello, Perriers! Well, I had a good speech for the left, but there's maybe fucking here. But anyway, I'm going to say it because I can see it online. So what, we were in Perth, we're handing leaflets now, 99% positive. And then somebody come in the house and they're like, oh, did you see what he said? Do you know what? Don't let these motherfuckers live rent-free in your brain, because that's all they want. And if they get that, they're winning. And they're not winning with me, folks. Fuck off, Scotland for the Scots. Anyways, it's nice to see you all here today. It really is. I made it all personal, shaking your hands. And I just love Falkirk. I love it. I know it's not a city, it's a tune, but it's a Scottish fucking tune. Yes! And I've not really got everybody says things I was going to say, so I better just take myself off in case I lift it. But anyway, take care. It's Scotland for the Scots!
It's Scotland winning out!
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. The lovely Lana from Perth giving it large. That's what we're talking about. And as we were coming at the end of the speakers, why am I doing this? Anyway, just some of the, I've been asked to give upcoming protests. So if you just want to kind of put your ears back and let's see if we can get these out.
So the Saturday the 22nd of August at the Queen's Hotel at 10:30 up in Perth. Let's give the people of Perth their support that they rightly deserve. They've came down here today. Let's go up to Perth next week. On Wednesday, the 26th of August, and this is an attendee for the Scottish Citizen Army who have turned out the day that they came through from Glasgow. God bless you guys. At the Festival Co-op, 200 Brand Street in Glasgow at 2 p.m. Give them support, it's the Home Office protest. So let's give the SCA a mention and give them some support on the 26th of August. The big one is the Pink Ladies.
Yes!
This is the one that we and Charlotte are looking forward to, because this is the one that we want to see. Let's turn Glasgow pink on the 4th of September at 1 p.m. on the Saturday. Let's make sure that every woman's voice can be heard for Glasgow all the way down to fucking London.
Yes!
As for the guys, the men should be there on the periphery. Every single man that can make next that weekend needs to be there. But this protest is about the ladies and the ladies only, and let them have their voices. This is nothing to do with the men on this occasion. But the men need to be there because we know for a fact that the ladies are going to get challenged. They know that they're going to be abused. So the men need to be there on the 12th of September.
Yes!
Following week, you might not know this man. It's a guy called Billy Haworth. Billy Haworth is a guy that's called Parents Against Grooming. He's from England. He's a very, very good man. He's been campaigning on this for decades. He's currently doing an accountability tour around the UK at the moment. And he's not been getting very good numbers in his towns and cities in England, which is quite disappointing. But the 19th of September, and the location will be confirmed, we're going to show them that Scotland will stand up for them, and Scotland will stand beside these victims, because it'll be victims that are going to be speaking, giving you real life stories. And I've witnessed it firsthand. I seen it in Manchester when I stood beside Billy and the Parents Against Grooming. So let's get there. And then on the 26th of September at 12 p.m, right outside the French Consulate in the Lothian Chambers, West Parliament Square, UTC3 is ready to go again. So let's keep this going, people, and let's keep our voices loud, and let's keep them being silent. Anyway, you're just going to finish off. Young Brian here, for God's sake, I can't believe I'm actually saying this. Young Brian from Falkirk is going to finish off it, and it's quite rightly fitting that a paycheck, a guy that's been here every Wednesday, every Saturday for the very starts of these protests, and it's only right that the local should finish this off. So give a big round of applause to the first time he's ever spoken at one of these things. Come on, young Brian, give us your best!
Okay. I hate being on camera, but someone's got to do it. And also, there's none of them buggers over there anyway, so... Originally, this was going to be a speech that was read out by someone else, because I'm a shite bag. However...
She said no!
However, someone has to do it, and Kevin's right. I can't remember the last time I've had a Saturday or a Wednesday off for a year. So if that place is shut, well, that means there's going to be some Saturdays and Wednesdays for myself now. But anyway, I speak for myself, but I'm sure there's many people who would share some of the things that I would like to say. If not, well, there's always had other speakers today. So you remember that 1 year ago, we stood here, many of us stood at Kemper Avenue because of Sadiq Nixad, who was jailed for 9 years for raping a 15-year-old in broad daylight, which the media and the police had tried to cover up. Those numbers were huge. There were no barriers, barely any police. They had to bring police in from Glasgow that day to disperse. And as you can see, the police today have been very hands-off. It's been very calm and peaceful, so thanks to everyone for keeping it very calm and peaceful. We are showing people Just like in Peterhead when there was no lefties. It's always calm and peaceful. It's them on the other side that incite the drama and the trouble many occasions. Even yesterday, by the way, they tried to say that this event was named after an American event that happened in 2017. I can tell you, last week. So obviously some people will say, like, can we match the numbers in August? And well, guess what? We can't. But there's many reasons, and we're always going to find it difficult. But everyone who stood in the street, even those who couldn't be here today, thank you very much for standing up to what's right, unlike those on the other side. After all, we do call them stand up for rapists. Now recently, a man from that hotel, Mohammed Sheikhi, was just jailed on Monday for 4 years. And the response from Falkirk for All, which if you've been looking at recently, even Kevin Doyle doesn't want anything to do with them these days. That tells you a lot. And Stand Up to Racism is that they marched past the skate park like last year, and that is despicable, and no doubt they probably had a minute's silence. Now we didn't get to do a march of our own, but I tell you, if we'd done a march, they would have been demanding so many changes, and they would have got out of their way. They got their route today, and they're lucky. But I will say this, to march past the skate park where a girl was sexually assaulted and a girl at the railway bridge was also assaulted is absolutely abysmal, and hang your heads in shame. Right, let me get my other page up, sorry. I've been up since like 4 o'clock in the morning. And shame on Falkirk Council as well. You could have made the right decision. All we asked was a V-route, but it's okay, it's okay. So we have made our point loud, and we have made our point clear that the migrants had to go out of here. And it seems that we may have been successful in doing so. But there is always the possibility that it's not over yet, because the recent Home Office closure announcement had a lot of hotels in England and not the cladding. We may just have to protest here for a little longer. Now, obviously, it's been mentioned before, but I will say, although he chose to step back from the protests, and we will respect his decision, just like many others have chosen to step back or put their foot back in and all advice. If it wasn't for Conor Graham and Save Our Future and Our Kids' Future, none of us would have been here to begin with. And groups, of course, such as Voices for Falkirk and the Scottish Freedom Patriots, among many others, have carried on from him to keep Falkirk going. And of course, a special mention to those who were standing on the street long before these protests kicked off. They've been standing here for years, and they don't often get much credit. Those guys were the start. So well done to those guys. There are many other protesters, either as individuals or in their own groups. No matter what colour your hoodie was, black, blue, pink, purple, or none at all, you all turned up during these Wednesdays, Saturdays, and on occasion Sundays, and many other days as well. So many of us were new to protests, and to those experienced ones who showed us how to protest in an effective and often charged manner, we thank them too for their help. A few people really enjoy using those megaphones at these protests after all. Hundreds of people have stood here this year, and whether they're here today or not, everyone should be glad that at some point they took a stand against this house of horrors. And to all those who helped set up the protests every time, they are often unmentioned and never thanked. I am sure many people are glad that we no longer have to deal with so many cable ties on the ground. If only someone had suggested clamps to begin with. And perhaps a bigger playlist so we didn't have to hear Whiskey Roll and The Glen on repeat every damn time.
Shut up!
Just my personal opinion, nothing against the songs. To those who have taken to the microphone and spoke, thank you for speaking your mind. I am sure there are some planned speakers who couldn't make it today, but hopefully we can hear your speeches at another time and place, and perhaps here at the Claddon in the future. Well, they could be speaking in Perth, they could be speaking elsewhere, who knows? A special mention also to those who brought their cameras and took photos, videos, live streams, and, of course, flew their drone. The likes of Dan, Phil, Dayglow the drone guy, and others showed people what our protests were all about. And every time I now see a drone flying around, I just think of the bagpipe music that often plays during these videos. And to those who oppose us, whether they're standing opposite to us today or not, well, you can see a fucking tumbleweed over there. How many of you could point out Falkirk on a map prior to August 2025? I think we know the answer to that. They could win in other towns and cities, but they couldn't do this in Falkirk.
Yes, that's right.
We know that today they're going to claim that they won. Okay? But I'll say this. If they wanted to claim victory, they would have stood there like they did in December. They chose not to. They are shitebags. And of course, in recent times, and many times, they've had less than 20 people, and in the last few months they've just been playing Jenga. Where's the Jenga? Was the Jenga in the march or not? And apparently even the staff play Jenga as well. So the fact that we've been there for a year has absolutely frustrated that lot. They couldn't nip our protests in the bud, unlike elsewhere's. Also, I mentioned to our politicians, Mr. Steenbank, if that hotel closes, we know that he's going to take this credit. But, as our former organiser said about this 100 times, let's make this clear. Not once did Steenbank stand at this hotel to speak to the genuine concerned citizens of Falkirk, but he was happy to show up at a meeting involving 45 hotel supporters versus one man. And on December the 6th, he spoke to the lefties up at Calendar House. We can only hope that for today, he stayed away. Yes, it's true that some people on our side have come from elsewhere, but not as many as compared to the other side. And you could see that earlier when Falkirk High was absolutely empty and full of them walking down there. Some of them even got a nice present of Benny Hill getting played in a car. Sorry. So we've been to the likes of Edinburgh, Glasgow, Dundee, Perth, Inverness, Aberdeen, Peterhead and much more to join protests organised by some who are here today. It was good to experience how other protests were done in comparison to our ones, where we stood for a few hours and waited for the lefties to get their walk of shame out the hotel with a police escort. In Falkirk, they always left first. It was never to be the opposite. Who knows where they are right now? Who knows?
In the mental hospital.
Well, maybe they are. Although the Claddon Hotel protest should be coming to a conclusion, there will always be other opportunities for the people of Falkirk to make a stand. The recent protests concerning the AI data centre in Larbert is something that everything can get on board with, everyone, whether you stood with us on the other side or stood on neither. And if the hotel closes but people get moved into HMOs, we will obviously be talking about them too. There are other protests coming up this month and next outside Falkirk. If we do have to do more protests going forward, we can have a think about this as we leave the street. Personally, I've not decided what I'm going to do going forward, where it's more protesting, something completely different, even having a think about standing next year's local elections. Apparently there's some in Falkirk for all who are doing that. But I would certainly not be dancing at that hotel with a pipstick, or as another lefty councillor did, wearing a tea towel. But at least I made a stand. So as we all leave here today, and a thanks to everybody that showed up, that's set up, that's filmed, even the police have been hands off today, which is good. Well done. We've marked this in a great way. The lefties never got what they wanted. It wasn't a repeat of other protests, and it just really tells you there are things called peaceful protests, and today this was a peaceful protest. So thanks to everyone for attending. Make a safe journey home if you're elsewhere, and we'll see you next time. Just keep an eye on the Facebook pages and so on. You'll always find out announcements for that.
Well done, Brian. I'm going to end the live now, right?
So, is there any speakers that want to stand up for a photograph? I've just been suggested this.